If Slack doesn't work anymore or Salesforce mess up with anything, with positioning, pricing, product, etc., I mean, the company could basically got killed like overnight. Move from being a Slack app to being a web platform with an integration with Slack. So we doubled the price once for all of our customers. Then overnight, you're doing 30K. So out of hundreds of customers, we got maybe 3, 4, 5 customers complaining. You're like, why didn't we do it earlier?
Hey there, welcome to another episode of saas.unbound. And today with me is J.Y from BuddiesHR. Welcome to the show.
Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, if you are in a company that's 50 plus employees, chances are, if you're on Slack, you know what he's building and you're using it right now. But before we jump there, maybe we start with your background and why you decided to build a SaaS.
Yeah, sure. So, a bit of background. So, I'm a software engineer. I launched my first company in 2016 during my last year of engineering degree. And since then, I've co founded like 6 startups, mostly B2B SaaS. I tried one B2C startup, but quickly figured out it would be easier to get B2B customers. And then pivoted into marketing space, like a marketing tech space. Then in a sales tech space, I went through YC in 2021 with Palette, which was like a platform to automate sales commission calculation, and then came up with Buddies.
All right. So usually, founders here on the podcast say, build something that you've suffered through. So what were you suffering through that you decided to build Buddies?
Yeah, very good question. So, as I mentioned, my previous company at Palette, so we went through YC, we went through the VC playbook. So we raised 6 million. We hired a team of 15 people. And when I looked back at it, I was like, okay, what's the part I really enjoyed doing during this experience? And for me, it was building company culture. And I wanted this to be like a full-time job as a software as a service, of course, because I didn't want to make any services or things like that or consulting. So that's what led me to start Buddies HR. It was to help companies build their culture.
Okay. So let's, quickly just wrap it. What is actually Buddies HR?
Yeah, so Buddies HR is a suite of Slack apps, and we do very different things. It can go from random coffee matching to birthday celebrations to employee recognition, mostly known as sending kudos to each other, engagement surveys, org charts as well, async stand-up, and many things that I might forget, but these are the main features that we are developing. And yeah, vacation tracking as well.
Okay. Yeah, I was just reading just to make sure I memorize all the things that you're building just before we recorded, and all have very funny names. I wonder if
Yes.
you will be running out of the words that end with Y at some point.
Yeah, because and this is kind of a funny learning for those listening, but our first company was named Jeffrey, and it was an Instagram automation software, and it was like a kind of a cute animal, and his name was Jeffrey, and lots of our customer like we saw the branding like was very strong because lots of customers were referring to us as the cute animal, like Jeffrey is your will help you grow on Instagram, etc. And that's kind of a learning that we apply to almost all our companies to have like a cute name, if possible, something that looks like a first name or a first name. And then having like a cute logo that might be something like, if it can be an animal, then fine. But if not, it's not a problem as long as it's cute. If you look at Clappy, for example, the software for sending kudos is just two hands that clap to each other, but with a smiley on it. So yeah, we this is like like our personal recipe.
Yeah, I guess using first names would be a bit more confusing. Like, what if you built a Karen? No, what would it do? That would be a sad little app. But yeah, okay. So you already mentioned that you're on Slack, right? And
Yes.
we always talk about this. This is a never-ending topic, is building a tool on top of existing technology. Third platform dependency. It's a bit of a, weird talk that you're going to have with a potential acquirer. So, what does it mean for you? How much of a real dependency there is? How much does it really hurt?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Very interesting question. So maybe for the context, it's not the first time that we take the platform risk. We took it first with our first company, like Instagram automation software, but we were like not doing it the legit way. There wasn't any marketplace within Instagram to run automations, etc. So of course we got banned from Instagram. We did the same thing on TikTok. We got banned from TikTok. I worked as well at the beginning of my career in a company that was doing LinkedIn scrapping automations to make like a competitor of what we could call today AI SDRs, but we were basically delivering interested leads to our customers. And so for this, we were just basically scrapping LinkedIn, enriching profiles with emails and sending like a bunch of emails. And I was in charge of the part to scrap LinkedIn. So I have a good relationship, I must say, with social media platforms. Then we took again the risk, but this was very much measured in our previous company with Palette because like a lot of our leads in the early days come from HubSpot because we were integrated with HubSpot. And then with Buddies, but for Palette, it was kind of different because it was an integration. So if we get rid of it, I mean, people could still import a CSV with their deals, etc., and we could still calculate commissions. For Buddies, it's a whole different story because if Slack doesn't work anymore or Salesforce mess up with anything, with positioning, pricing, product, etc., I mean, the company could basically got killed like overnight. So to answer clearly your question, that would hurt a lot. But we are doing a lot of stuff to mitigate. First, the main risk because Salesforce acquired Slack like a couple of years ago. So the main risk that Salesforce would mess up with Slack is non-existing, but is existing, like is not zero, I wanted to say, but it's very minimal. I mean, I'm not sure Slack want to mess up with a revenue line that is that important for them. So they might want to be conservative, integrate a bit of AI, maybe have a stronger integration with Salesforce so that if you're a Slack customer, maybe you will purchase Salesforce instead of HubSpot, things like that. But I don't see them go enterprise like they did with Salesforce with Slack because they will basically lose lots of their customer base. But still, like the risk is not zero for us, and we need to project ourselves in the future. And you talked about acquisition, and this could affect like revenue multiples when it comes to acquisition, to be dependent on one platform or just to be like dependent on multiple platforms. So that's why we invest a lot this year to minimize this risk. And I don't remember if we already discussed this in the past, but we are bringing like I think this is the first time I say this on the podcast as well. I never published this on LinkedIn, but we are currently working on what we call internally Buddies 2.0. That will be like a web platform that will cover all the features we have in Slack. And because for now, every Slack app is like a Slack app. It's not like an external app with an integration. It's built as a Slack app. So the reason for this is that initially we wanted to make a hit with one Slack app, and then we figured out that revenue growth wasn't as expected. So we shipped a second Slack app, and at the time we thought, okay, maybe this app will overgrow like the first one, and we will stop or maybe merge the first one with the second one, and hopefully we'll just have one Slack app to maintain. And then we did this a third time, and that's the fourth time. So we had 4 domain names, 4 blogs, 4 etc., for everything, marketing strategies, acquisition, etc. And at this point, we were like, okay, maybe the main strengths we can bring to the market is to have multiple Slack apps talking to each other, because there are no company doing this actually, and there are a lot of Slack apps used by everyone on Slack, but none of them can actually talk to each other and exchange useful data to each other. So like, okay, maybe we could build like the first suite of Slack apps. So we went to this path, and now we want to build like a second version of BuddiesHR, because now it's clear who we are building for, what are the main features people need, who is our ICP, what do they need, how do we price, how do we sell to them, what are our acquisition channels, etc. So it's easier to project ourselves to build like a 2.0 version with exactly the feature they need, so that we can abstract ourselves from Slack and move from being a Slack app to being a web platform with an integration with Slack. So if tomorrow Slack dies, or maybe a customer go from Slack to Teams or to Slack to a platform that is unknown to us, but we don't support it yet. What we will be able to say to our customers is, listen, it's not a requirement to use Slack anymore to use Buddies HR. So if you're moving to another platform, maybe we already have the integration, because the plan is to have all our apps available in Teams and in Pumble, that is a Slack competitor. And if you're not using one of the platform we integrate with, you can use Buddies HR as a standalone, and there's no issue with that.
Okay, perfect. I wonder, you were talking about it like it's easy, as always. But I'm wondering, first of all, at the moment, it's already a pretty saturated market. And second is that HR departments are not really known for moving fast and being like, oh, that looks like fun. Let's do this. So I wonder, how it works in terms of, yeah, okay, we are on Slack app store, whatever you call it, and it's easy to just pick and choose your apps there. But also with the fact that it has to go through HR, they have to commit, they have to approve it, they have to ship it to the entire team, and so on.
Yeah, so yeah, HR is pretty slow in making decision, and that's fair enough, because when they make a decision, as opposed to other teams in the company, the decision impact the whole company. Like, all employees will have to suffer the consequences of their decisions. If I can say it like that, it's a pessimistic way of saying it, because we could say that all employees will benefit from their decision as well.
They have to
So that's why,
enjoy it.
yeah, that's why they are very conservative and takes time and to make decision, evaluate multiple solutions, etc. So when you are in the HR tech space, you have to, if you have like a sales-led motion, then you have to be very patient, because it's hard to. What we learn is that it's hard to pressure like your ICP to. You won't you won't be able to close them with an end of quarter discount, or they are like, okay, I have my timeline. It's like performance evaluation, for example. We just developed like a performance review software, and you cannot say to a HR that, like, there's a discount in Q1, you should buy it now. They're like, yeah, but my process is at the end of the year. I won't move my evaluation process in Q1 because of your discount. Like, I don't care about your discount. Like, if you can do it at the end of the year, then fine. But I won't move my internal process for your discount. So you have very little leverage to make them purchase your software faster or to reduce sales cycles. And that's fine. And that's mainly why we decided early on not to go the sales-led way. We are mostly, to not say 100% product-led, and we are very generous, because we know HRs need to test things out and need time to test the software that they might purchase. So we have a 30-day free trial, and our software is free forever if you have less than 10 users. So that means that if you're working in HR, you can just create a test Slack workspace with 5 users, and you can test our apps for as long as you want before making any decision. It won't impact your employees, so you're not testing the apps on your whole company. And whenever you're ready to experiment this on your company, maybe you can test it on a team, what they do, for example, like, let's try the random coffee app for the CSM team and engineering team, and let's see how it goes. Then you have 30-day free trial. Then you can pay only for this number of seats. And when you feel comfortable, then you can expand, purchase other apps, and integrate with your HRES, etc. So we decided to go product-led and to have more expansion than trying to sell the whole thing with a heavy sales process. Also, because like we intentionally built the company to be like a good lifestyle business for my co-founder and I, and we didn't want, even if at the beginning we were all in on doing sales calls, because when you're starting, you need feedback. So the best way to get feedback is to get people on the call trying to sell your stuff and see what are objections, to help you craft your marketing, see the words they are using, the sentences they are using for your marketing, and be persuasive on your landing page. But once you've done this cycle and your product is self-serve, then you can just push on inbound channels, push on the accelerators for inbound channels, and just like deploy your marketing like that, and hopefully have signups through these channels.
All right. So what do you use for growth? What are those inbound channels and how they have been evolving from the beginning to now? What are you at now, MRR wise?
56.
Okay.
6K MR, yeah.
So what is it?
Uh,
700 per year.
Yep, something. Let me quick calculation. 56 times 12. Yeah, 672. Almost
Close enough.
700.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one channel that worked from the beginning and that is still working for us, and that is our main acquisition channel as of today, accounting for more than 90% of our inbound, is the Slack Marketplace. The reason is that when we launched in 2023, it could sound strange, but in 2023, there weren't many competition on the marketplace. And when we launched with other competitors kind of at the same period. And the thing is that it's crazy hard to get to the top 10. But once you get in the top 10, then you cannot go out of it, because since you're in the top 10, then you get lots of visibility and people are seeing you a lot. So you're getting lots of installation from it. And since you got a lot of installation, then you are in the top 10, because the rankings are made based on the number of installs. So it's actually quite hard to rank high if you're just getting started now. And since there were way less competition in 2023, we acquired positions that might be very, very hard to acquire as of today. Because if it would be much harder today to replicate what we did. So hopefully we got this working. And at the beginning, it was kind of keywords optimization, trying to guess what people were typing in the marketplace and trying to rank well. And the Slack Marketplace is very basic in terms of how it ranks. It's based on keywords. So they look at the title, then they look at the one sentence description, and then they look at the full description. So the more keywords you can put in your title or in your description, or otherwise in your full description, the better you will be ranking on the marketplace, on the search. But then for ranking on the homepage, etc., you just have to get a bunch of install to get featured there.
I don't know. It was many, many years ago when I was just starting. But what you said about, jamming a lot of keywords into one place just made me remember this. I saw quite a few blog posts where, it was, why our tool is the best for you. And then it was, I don't know, like 10,000 different examples, because we do this for this people and that for those people. And it was just like one sentence of, and it was so crazy, but I bet it worked as a little
Okay.
hack. Cool.
And just to finish on your question, it was like the acquisition channel that we have and how they evolve. So Slack has been working from the beginning and is still working as of today. And with the thing that is interesting is that last year we thought that if a competitor would launch today, if they use the technique that we used at the beginning, like the keyword optimization, they would actually steal a lot of traffic from our apps. So we were kind of worried about it, and we thought, okay, what about cloning ourselves one of our apps with a total different branding out of the BuddiesHR suite and see what would be the impact on our acquisition and revenue. And this is how we got the learning that it's not doable anymore, because this app just flopped. But it was optimized as the others. And the conclusion to this was that people might be, because we got lots of install, people might be typing BuddiesHR directly in the marketplace, or Billy or Alfie, like the name of our different products. And they are not typing product keywords like birthday bot, random coffee, etc. anymore. So that's why we are capturing most of the traffic, because they are searching us and our product specifically compared to features. And I think that one major mistake that our competitors made at the time is that they named themselves as their product features. So we had a main competitor that was named Birthday Bot, another one that was named Random Coffee. And guess what? People are typing Random Coffee, see alternatives that are cheaper, and now they are using us. And now they remind us and they type Alfie in the marketplace or Billy in the marketplace, and there's just it's just us. And then, so to speak about other acquisition channel other than Slack, we tested SEO, Google Ads, Reddit marketing. We tested Reddit ads as well, Quora ads. None of them actually worked as well as the Slack Marketplace, since it still accounts for 90+% of our acquisition, inbound. We invested a lot in SEO. I think we invested 2 to 3K a month for more than 1 year. We managed to move our sign up per month from, let's say, 10 to 20 with lots of investments, as I mentioned. So we stopped this investment because we are not sure it was because of the effort we invested in it. It might just be like the brand name that people are typing on Google that bring us like more traffic SEO wise. We tried also Reddit marketing ourselves very quickly and saw some interesting results because with very few efforts, we managed to get 10 signups from Reddit every month. But compared to what Slack is bringing, like it's 10 out of 400 signups. So, so it's very like, should we invest effort? Maybe. So, and since we had very positive results for very little effort, we decided to hire an agency to do this. So it's very recent. It was like 2 weeks ago. So I'll be able to tell you more in a couple of weeks if this is working the right way. But I think this is the channel right now that has the potential to go from maybe 10 to 50 a month, because the other like SEO, we won't jump from 20 to 50 in a month or so. Google Ads, we are currently running an experiment. We run lots of experiments, and since our product evolve and we are adding features, then we test Google Ads kind of every year or so. Because at the beginning, we tested Google Ads for our first app, that was the birthday automation. Then we had the BuddiesHR suite, so we tested like Google Ads for the BuddiesHR suite. Now we have the performance reviews, so we're testing for performance reviews. And at the end of this year, we'll have our whole like employee engagement web platform. So we'll be able to compete with names like Culture Lattice, etc. So we might again test Google Ads, because every time it's not working, but every time we think it could be working. So we're a bit desperate, but we're optimistic, and
Optimistic, yeah.
yeah, we think that one day we'll manage to, because we have a lot of friends that rely on ads. They are running B2B SaaS, and they grown like 0 to 50K of MRR in 6 months. And when you ask them like, oh, wow, impressive, what's your acquisition channel? Like Google Ads, Facebook Ads, etc. And I'm like, shit, it's not working for me, and it seems to be incredible when it's working. So I want it to be working, and I'll be testing it every 6 months until I can have the same growth trajectory.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it's hard. I remember we have our own PPC person in the team, and he recently shared a piece of advice from Google that said, well, if you're not really performing well, you can add $11 billion to your budget, and then let's see how that goes. And it's our best internal joke. But yeah, I mean, good luck. I'm happy to connect you to maybe chat about this. But you were telling me all of this, and I noticed that there are, generally maybe two types of founders. One is, they're kind of afraid to share the, I hate that word, but playbook that they have that's working for them. And there is another type that's, building in public. They're like, we're going to tell you absolutely freaking everything. Let's see what you do with it. And I wonder if, if it backfired at any point.
For me personally, I didn't see it backfired at any point. And I think the reason is that what we are finding right now is hard to be applied in a different context. And even if people would be launching like cloning our apps, this is what we usually tell to people who want to clone app. Because when we launched our previous company, like the sales commission calculation software, we already had competition on the market, but it was very early. So that's why we managed to raise and to try to catch them revenue wise and product wise. The thing is that the very first few customers that you will have will define your product way more than people can imagine. And if we were about to start BuddiesHR today, I think in 2 years it will be very different from what we are doing right now, because it's kind of, you figure out your ICP, and depending on who you're talking to in the early days, you can switch your ICP from, for example, for us, we wanted to avoid having a sales-led motion. So it was clear for us that we would build a software for people who could make decisions without jumping on the call. So that means SMB and maybe like the lower tier of mid-market. But if you have another founder that has experience, maybe like at HubSpot, that is an account executive in a big corporation like Salesforce, HubSpot, they might go the other way, saying, okay, we can make much more money starting with enterprise. So we're going to design a software for 500 plus employees, and we'll have radically different software. The features will be all different. The ICP will be different. And if they try to use our learnings to their business, it won't work. And the other way around, like if we try to use their learnings on our business, it won't work. I think building in public is more inspirational for people to learn more about the mindset of iterating, testing things, being optimistic. As I showed, like on Google Ads, like it never worked, but we still try. It's more about sharing the learning mindset and helping other people figure out if entrepreneurship is for them or not, because building in public is also about sharing the failures and the wins and see if they can manage like the ups and downs. So for me, that's my conclusion. I think it's because we had people who tried to clone our apps. We also had competitors who clone our apps and forget to replace the name of our apps on their landing page. So it was kind of their branding, their product. And when you look at the frequently asked question, you were like, what is called the seat? In Billy, a seat is called, is defined as, and we're like, okay, you didn't even replace like the product name of your competitors. So when we looked at it, we were like, you know what? They don't look serious. And even if they do, they don't know who is our exact ICP. They don't have the learnings that we had calling 40 plus people leaders to build a roadmap of our product initially. And this is what's really important. Like when we got started, we interviewed like 40 people leaders to learn more about their priorities, their schedule, what they would be doing like first time in the morning on Monday. That kind of question that helps you shape like the vision of your company and your product. And depending on who are the 40 people you interview, you can have radically different answers and then radically different products because you won't start by the same features. And that's why I'm not worried about sharing everything I learned along the way, because I'm convinced that no one can do whatever they can with this. And it's actually interesting because what I enjoy with this is that it generates conversation like the one we have today, but also with other founders that says, hey, I saw that you're struggling or you wanted to test Reddit. I saw this in your latest post. And I saw that you had learning to shares on SEO. So what about setting up a 30-minute call and we just exchange the learnings that we had? And so it actually benefited us more in terms of learnings, because in terms of revenue, I mean, our ICP are not aspiring entrepreneurs. So it doesn't bring us any leads. Like HR don't care about us posting on LinkedIn about this. But it brings us like lots of other founders willing to share learnings with us, and we can also share learnings so that we can like increase the level of knowledge that we have on all the acquisition topics, especially because we are both technical founders with my co-founder, so we lack a bit of business skills, let's say. And that's why it's super interesting and why we keep doing this.
Okay, awesome. That makes sense. All right, another question that I wanted to ask you is about revenue, about your pricing, and about predictability, because like you said, you are building a suite of different apps, but you're not pushing people to just buy all of them. It's possible to buy one of whatever you like, and I feel like it may add a bit of unpredictability to your revenue growth. How are you dealing with it, and what's the strategy behind it, if any?
Yeah, good question. So when it comes to predictability, in terms like revenue wise and in terms of number, it's kind of very predictable because we know that we are adding around 1.5k MOR every month. And so our challenge is to try to move this number up as hard as we can, running experiments like the ones I mentioned before. And our pricing is modular, but that's because of what we learned in our initial interviews. So when we started BuddiesHR running those 40 interviews, we learned two main things about HR. Is one, it should be integrated within Slack because it's hard for them to onboard all of their employees on a new tool. And if it can live within Slack with no additional credentials, login, I forgot my password, where's the URL, I don't know which software we're using to do performance management, etc. So all of that stuff, they don't want to deal with it because it's such a pain. So it's a requirement for us today to have this integrated with Slack. And if their employee can manage everything they have to do HR wise within Slack, it's a big plus. And the second thing was the modularity, because they were very frustrated about platforms like Lattice, CultureAmp, etc. Because like the minimum fee you can pay is like $10 per employee per month, but it includes like a lot of features, but they know that they only need one or two features. And I'm paying for the full suite and I just need one or two features. And when I look at the invoice every year, I'm like, we're paying way too much for what we're using from the software. And we're like, okay, so paying only for what you're using is a requirement. Slack is like being integrated with your internal communication system, like Slack is a requirement. So that was the two main things, the two main learnings that we applied when we built like the first Slack app and when we built then BuddiesHR as a unified Slack app suite. And like in terms of, so this explained the modularity. In terms of revenue, most of our customers come from Slack, so they're basically seeking for one app in general. And our job is during the sign up process. So first, we let you do your job. You wanted to install one app, so we do this. Like we help you do this as fast as you can. So for us, if you're tech savvy, it shouldn't take more than 2 minutes to install a Slack app. And chances are, if you're using Slack, that you're kind of a modern company. Let's say you're in office jobs like marketing agencies or tech startups or etc. So it shouldn't take more than 2 minutes. It's generally 1 to 2 forms with 3 to 5 questions, and you're done. Like the setup is as easy as that. And then once you're done installing your first app, this is where we come with value proposition and try to find synergies. Like if you install this app, that might mean that you're trying to solve this problem. So that might mean that you might be interested in those other apps, and we are recommending you to install all the apps. And we're seeing more and more share of the revenue coming from the all apps package. It's still not 50% of the revenue. It accounts for 25% as of today. So we have like a huge margin to make this a bit more than 50%, hopefully. But that's generally the path that we're using. And that aligns as well with the acquisition channel. Since most of the traffic is coming from the marketplace, the initial intention is to install just one app. Then our job is to make you aware of all the offering that we have, to make you install multiple apps, and then taking and that explains as well why our pricing is one app is $1 per employee per month, and all of our apps is $2 per employee per month. So all of our apps is 7 apps. So you get 7 apps for the price of 2. And that's because of this not constraint, but because of this business fact that people are coming to install one app. And what we want them to do is to install a second and maybe a third app. So as soon as you're using 2 apps, then it's worth installing the full suite and not asking anymore like how much will it cost and etc. Because our main job is to convert more people to be using more apps. Because you might be thinking that we're losing revenue because if we didn't have the package, then they might be using one app here, one app here. But because they are using a lot of apps, one, they upgrade on the package, then the retention is much stronger, because once you install 3, 4, 5 apps, it's way more difficult to churn or to go back to the one app plan if you install like 4 or 5, 6 apps.
Okay, so it's a Trojan horse.
Yeah.
With one app. And then you end up with all of them and you're like, what did I just do?
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. Well, I guess we touched upon it just very little at the beginning, but I cannot not ask. And a little bit of background here. We know each other from last year when JY actually reached out to me with another tool that he's been building, and it was Karma Links. And I'm sorry, I was probably not the most pleasant to talk to about it, because when I see the word backlinks, I mean, I get a tick, because I have 40 emails about that per day, and I was like, oh my god, okay, that's another one.
One more.
But that said, you sold it pretty fast. I was wondering how the process went and what you learned selling Karma Links that you're applying now to how you're building Buddies HR, and basically how you are now working with this existing business, so maybe in the future it will be a bit easier to sell.
Yeah. Okay. So first, a bit of context of what is KarmaLink. So it's a B2B SaaS backlink exchange platform, and you have karma points, etc. Like the goal is to ensure that the exchanges are fair and that you are not giving backlinks to everyone and you're not receiving anything. So this is just like the main value prop of KarmaLinks. So when we launched it, it was just, we didn't have any, like we have revenue goals, like we wanted this to grow and to maybe outperform what we are doing at BuddiesHR. But one of the main like success KPI was like it bring us a decent amount of backlinks and we have to stop replying to everyone sending us email about backlinks, and we could redirect this traffic to the platform, etc. Because we were investing a lot in SEO at the time, and so it was making sense to build such platform. And after maybe 8 months operating it was still working. We still had like 3 to 5 backlinks, very highly qualitative backlinks a month from KarmaLinks, but we didn't see any way to monetize it in a way that would outperform BuddiesHR. So we were like, okay, we're like spending time and effort in this, and it's not bringing any revenue to the company. So we were going to close it. So we displayed a message on the website that KarmaLinks was about to close in a month or two. I don't remember how much time we decided at the time, and that people could send us an email if they might be interested to purchase it. And we got 3 interested buyers. 2 weren't really like very serious about it, but 1 was like very interested about it because it was one of their employees that was using the platform, and they were very sad that KarmaLinks was going away. So they told this to their CEO, and the CEO was like, okay, this sounds like a very interesting platform, and I have some good friends, like childhood friends with whom I'd like to run a business, so it might be like a good side project for all of us. And it was, and the person in question, so for now I can't disclaim, like I can't disclaim who the buyers are, because they want me to wait a little bit to make a proper LinkedIn announcement. But it was someone from the YC network, and that helped a lot, because when you're joining YC, you're joining a batch, we'll have a YC partner to help you on your business, etc. But you're also joining like the whole YC network. And what's cool with that is that you have kind of a built-in trust between founders that things will happen the way you say it will happen. And so having a buyer coming from the YC network actually created an instant trust between him and I. And so that explained why like for me, that explained why it went super fast and it went super well, because we were just trusting each other at every step of the process. And so maybe just to mention, it was making almost no revenue when we sold it. So it was quite straightforward. It was just like tech migration, explaining all the day-to-day processes that we had to run for the business and the software to work. And the way we did it was very simple. We created a shared Notion document, and we created 2 big checklists, one for the buyer and one for me. And we synced once a week or once every 2 weeks, and we just ticked the box and added some boxes every time we synced, created some documentation about how to run the business, how the tech works, explanation, etc. It was super smooth, and I think it took maybe 3 months from the time we said okay over a call to the time it was fully closed and transaction was done. So it was a very, very interesting process. And when it comes to the learnings from BuddiesHR, I mean, we're under a second acquisition process, because we sold one of our other business named Talkfluence that we launched in 2019 or 2020, something like that we ran on the side for many years, and someone was interested to acquire it, and we applied the exact same process, and it's working quite well to have like a shared Notion document with a checklist, and everyone knows what they have to do, and you just like add tasks to everyone, assign tasks, and make sure before the next call everyone actually tick their box. And that's the main learning, I guess. It's not to over engineer the process, and to be very responsive, reactive, and be aligned with the buyer as well. Because for Talkfluence, the story is kind of interesting, because it was a mentee that acquired one of my business. I met him through a platform named Mentor Cruise, where this mentee decided to go for mentorship for a couple of months. And then we met in real life. And I live in Nice, in the south of France. So we went for a run. when he was in holidays in Nice, because he got some family there. He's a French guy as well. And during the running, I ran with a third friend who were looking to acquire a business, but a physical business in the Nice Bay Area. And I was telling him about my experience trying to sell TalkFluence a few months ago on acquire.com. And when the rep actually told me the whole process to solve the business, I was like, you know what? I'm going to keep it. He's doing a decent amount of MRR. I'm going to wait 24 months and I'm going to have the same revenue as your heavy process. And when I said this, the mentee that I had on the run thought about it and was like, oh, he's open to selling it. And I'm trying to launch a B2B SaaS and I'm trying to succeed at doing it. So what about starting with a B2B SaaS who is already doing revenue with lots of ways to expand it? Because since it was on the side, we didn't give it a chance because BuddiesHR has way more potential for us at the time. And so that's how we met the buyer. And I think how you met the buyer, the trust level you have between each other, and and in trust, I mean, how confident you feel that they want to go through the full process and that it will be successful, and that you won't be hiding anything from each other. Because the first thing I told him when he told me, listen, Jean-Yves, I want to make you an offer to acquire a TalkFluence, I was like, you shouldn't do this, and these are the reasons. Now, if you want to do it, I put the disclaimer so you can still decide to do it. But I told you everything you needed to hear before making your decision. So now that you know this, you can process the information and come back to me in a couple of days or weeks and come back with your final decision. And finally decided to acquire it. But that's the level of trust that has been very helpful to acquire the business, because I didn't hide anything. I told him right away what was the downsides of having such a business. And I'm not sure that if you're selling it to an acquirer through acquire.com that you don't know about before, you might be sometimes a bit storytelling some part of the business to avoid like telling the tech stuff, because it was a scrapping business and you have to rotate proxies, etc., to have an infrastructure. So it's kind of heavy tech wise to maintain and to make it work in the long run, because at every point of time it can break and you have to redo everything. We're finding new proxies, scrapping the DOM properly, etc. So lots of technical stuff that can happen. But since they were aware of this and happy, it was fine. But if the acquirer was someone with a level of trust that was maybe much lower, I might not have said all the things that I said earlier, because it was a friend and I didn't want him to purchase the business and then realizing things that they weren't aware about before doing this.
Yeah. I think trust is a huge part of these kind of deals, and that's why I'm always pushing for as much transparency and as many in-person events and opportunities as possible, because when you see eye to eye, I don't know, gut feeling will tell you all. And if you cannot really talk to a person, you won't be really good working together after an acquisition. So why bother? But all right. So I only have a couple more questions for you, the usuals here. And it can be about your overall experience as a founder or about Buddies HR specifically. What is the biggest win and the biggest failure?
Interesting ones. Biggest win. I don't know if someone told you this before, but I would say it's pricing change, because it can, like for us in our history, every time we changed our pricing, and that's why I came up with a whole different number in terms of MRR than the last time we talked, because when you change your pricing, it's actually a good way to see like the value that there's usually a gap when you feel more confident about your business and your product, between the value you think you're delivering and the value for which people are paying. So at the beginning, it's fine to underprice yourself. I'm not a guru saying you should price way high and then try different pricing. Like my methodology tell me like, okay, you look at your competitors, you try to estimate which percentage of value your software brings in comparison to their software. And if you believe you only have 25% of their features, then it's fine to price 25% of their pricing. And so that's how we started. We priced 25 cents per employee per month. So we started like that. And then we figured out like all our competitors went at $1 and we are at 25 cents. So we figured out we could jump from 25 cents to 50 cents. So we doubled the price. When you're a customer of us and you see your price doubling, you're like, oh wow, what's happening? Can you explain? And we're like, yeah, we added many features that we didn't have when you joined, and we're still investing a lot in the product. And that makes sense because at 50 cents, we're still 2 times cheaper than most competitors. And we have no commitment. So if you want to leave, just confirm by this email. I cancel your subscription, and that's it. And by the way, we sent an email before updating the prices, of course, and it's also in our terms and conditions that we can do such updates with proper notice. So we did it one time, and then we kept adding features, adding all the apps, integration between the apps, integration with HRES, and many features. Then we decided to move because at this point, we believe we were providing more value than our competitors. So we thought, okay, now it is time to go from 0.5 to 1 to have the same price as others, because we believe we are bringing more values than other, and it's not aligned with our pricing, and it might actually hurt our branding because people might be thinking there's a strange thing about they are providing more for less. There's a catch basically. So we moved from 0.5 with 1 with the yeah. So we applied the same process. We sent an email and then we updated the pricing, etc. And you'd be surprised how little people complain. Like out of hundreds of customers, we got maybe 3, 4, 5 customers complaining about it. And because in the email that we send, we explain exactly what are the features that we added, and what's the value you get for the pricing update that you're seeing. And normally people don't like complain a lot. And when they do, you just remind them maybe in a more detailed way than the initial email that you send, because you cannot send like lots of paragraphs in your email. And they usually do, oh, okay, it's fine. I'm going to revisit the decision, just as you know, because we like validated this budget last year. So I just need to run by my CFO to check if this is still like in budget for next year. But I'm really understanding like this makes sense, like pricing wise. So that's why, and for us in terms of company, that means we double the price once for all of our customers, and then we double the price once more. So when you're doing, let's say 15K of revenue and you're doubling the price, then overnight you're doing 30K. So the number of things you can do with this money, investing in ads, investing in product, of course, because that's the main promise of why you're doing the pricing change, but you can also strengthen like your acquisition process, invest in SEO, in product design, in features, etc. So that unlocks you a big, like I would say that, like possibilities that are really interesting for the business. So that's why I say it's the biggest win, because I remember myself the first time in my first company when I had to move the price from 30 months to 50 months. I was scared, and I remember like my mentors told to me like, "What's your pricing?" And I was like 30. We have different plans, etc. And he was like, "What's your main competitor's pricing?" It's 70 per month. It was like, there's no way you should price 30 if you believe your product does the same as the one who's like doing 3 or 10x more revenue than you, and they are pricing more than 2 times your price. And we're like, and you find excuses. Yes, but we want to be affordable. You find excuses. And it was like, okay, you're going to make a pricing update, and otherwise I don't want to talk to you anymore, because you're like, if you're not listening to advice and basic advice like pricing updates, I mean, you're sitting on the growth potential that you're not aware of, and that just pissed me off. And we're like, okay, maybe this time he was a bit angry and it's not his company, so it might be something very important. So I remember with my co-founder, we did the pricing update and we checked all the renewals and one by one, because we were very scared about this. And the first time you do it, and it's done and everyone renewed and you have very little complaints, you're like, why didn't we do it earlier?
How much
and
could we
yeah. And since then, like pricing update is at the core of everything that we do, because whenever we add features, so sometimes it's gated features, so you add a new plan, and if you pay more, then you can access those features. But when the features are benefiting everyone, then you really need to think about, okay, so what does what do your customers can get for the same price at your competitors? And if the answer is that they couldn't get more with what they are paying to you, then you might actually increase your price or create a new plan. Or there's always something to do with the pricing, and it's always like an endless iteration. For example, we just updated our pricing a few weeks ago. We introduced a third plan because we launched our performance review software with as a standalone pricing, and then we got lots of requests to include it in the suite. But since it was kind of a different category than the employee engagement, we decided to introduce a third plan with the full suite plus the performance review software. And so we'll see how it goes. If it doesn't work, you might actually tweak things out. And maybe in the future, I told you we have this all apps package. Maybe our first acquisition channel will be our landing page or SEO, and then we'll have to split this plan or remove it and let people pay for each module because it will unlock more revenue for us. So you have to stay flexible, listen to what people are requesting and how they are using your software, and like really don't hesitate to tweak your pricing. And also you don't have to change it for everyone. For us, we are a bit hardcore about it. We apply it retroactively to all of our customers, but you can also soft launch your new pricing only for new people, like new signups, new trials, and new customers, and then see how it reacts. And then you can maybe select a batch about your existing customers and try to deploy your new pricing on those customers to see if it backfires or not. And if not, then you can apply it to your customer base. So don't have to be hardcore for pricing changes as well if you're not feeling confident.
Yeah, some good old grandfathering never hurt at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
What about a failure?
This one, we did it, I think, twice with my co-founder, is to like have a third co-founder and not spending enough time validating the human fit between the three of us, and having to split path and sometimes kill the company because of it. And it happened to us twice in the past. First time was kind of easy since like the third co-founder stopped working, so it was kind of easy to say, okay, we were bootstrapped, so we did some profit. So the logic was to just split the money and say, okay, when you worked with us, we were able to make this amount of money, so we're giving you this. And since we had a shareholder agreement that say we can like fire you with zero, I mean, it's not fair to give you zero with all the efforts that you put. So we just split the benefit that we were able to make together, and then we're living good friends. And no animosity, no anger, no nothing. Second time was way much harder. Lots of things at stake, and lots of it got emotional for everyone. I think we put lawyers early on that we shouldn't have, because when you as soon as you involve your lawyer, then they will try to make tactical word moves to try to it's such a painful process. So as long as you can handle it directly and try to put your emotion on the side, it's better to keep the communication line open. But still, it doesn't, like the main learning was like we shouldn't have started this company because we kind of skipped the validation process, and we would do it differently as of today.
Do you think if you start another company with a third co-founder, you will prepare some kind of a co-founder agreement? So
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, agreement. We always had the co-founder agreement, but I would say we would have a much more robust process. And based on the experience we had in the past, we would trust our gut way more than what we did in the past. Because we saw it, but for us at the time, we classified it as orange flag, whereas it was clear red flags. But there was so much at stakes that we decided maybe it was orange because we wanted to continue the company, but it was just delaying the problem, and we had to fix it at the beginning. But we didn't have the experience to see it was a red flag at the time. So it's easy to say it afterwards, but at the time, we didn't want to see it as a red flag.
Yeah, makes sense. All right. Well, the last question is always about a hack. And again, it can be anything about the company that works. It can be about you. It can be about handstands. That's just a personal ask because I've been trying to do them for like a year. It can't.
Yeah, it takes a lot of time. But my personal hack, I would say, is like from, I don't know when I started doing this. I think it was maybe 1 or 2 years ago. So in my previous company, I hired a founder coach, and he helped me a lot about like thinking about like first it was for like corporate stuff. So it was mainly to design like company values and to help me ramp up as a first time manager, because I never had to manage people before like launching this company. So I hired a coach, and it made me realize that company values as well as personal values are really important. So I worked a lot on what are my personal values. And then a couple of years after that, so it was 1 or 2 years ago, I figured out it was like I needed to write what was my definition of success and how to implement. So not as a company, but as me, as a person. And so I have like my own definition of success, that is like finding the good balance between health, family, and wealth. So building a business. And once a month, so every first of the month, I go into what I call a self-reflection session, and I go for each item, so health, family, and wealth. What should I do? What are the action items that I will implement this month to actually move the needle in one or each of the different sections? What's important for me? And every time I come up with things, and I also review like the past months or the past few months, what I wrote and what I stick with, or what I should stop as well. And that helped me improve. And this is like sometimes you're doing it on the how to say, like on the way of your life. But I think it's interesting to do it consciously, taking 1 hour every month to think intentionally about, okay, what I did last month for my family, what I did last month for my health, what I did last month for my business, and was it helpful? Did I enjoy doing these items? And now what should I do in the upcoming months to actually like be happy about my definition of success, like in finding the balance between those three, and what are the action items I will implement. And I'm doing this every month for more than a year or two, and I'm really happy about this because it helps me prioritize. Because sometimes you can feel bad about, oh, maybe I should work more, or I should spend more time with my family, or and you can feel bad about it. But putting this on paper and thinking about it consciously helps you realize that skipping one day of work is not that important anymore, because like business is running, like, and it evolves over time. When you're starting your business, maybe like building wealth and building your business will be more important temporarily than doing your sport and running health activities, doing sauna, ice baths, etc. And maybe when you have a child, it's maybe more important to focus on your family for a couple of months and maybe a couple of years, or maybe your whole life will be the main thing. So it's important to see what are the main priorities and to just align your schedules and your action with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I just recently had a podcast with another founder who said at the beginning of your journey, the number of sleepless nights that you have is the coolest thing you can share with your buddies. And later in the road, on the way building your company, it's actually the how many hours you slept and how many
Yeah.
good nights, you had.
How many green scores you have in Whoop?
Yes, exactly. But yeah, thank you so much for sharing that and sharing your story. I mean, honestly, I've enjoyed the conversation really a lot. Now, I will try to build Buddies HR on the side. But yeah, super cool what you guys are doing. We also use I know for sure we use Alfie. We probably use something else at saas.group. But yeah, thanks for building a solid product. And let's see what you're up to this year.
Yeah, you're welcome, and thank you so much for having me on the podcast. It has been such a pleasure to talk with you and to discuss all of this. So thank you so much as well.
Sure, no problem. And take care.
Yep, you too.
Awesome. Thanks for listening. SaaS Unbound is brought to you by SaaS Group. We're a long-term home for great B2B SaaS. We buy, keep the team and brand DNA, and help with the boring stuff like hiring and finance so founders can truly focus on building great products. If you're a founder who'd like to be featured or explore an acquisition, reach out through the form on our website or email me at anna@saas.group.